Okay, greetings to all. As you have heard, my name is Forbes Matonga. I come from a country called Zimbabwe. South Africa is here, Zimbabwe is here. On our east is Mozambique. On our west is Botswana. On our north is Zambia. So Zimbabwe is a landlocked country. So it is a former colony of the British. It was colonized in 1890. We got our independence from Britain in 1980. So we were under the British colonialism for 90 years. There are good things that we inherited from the colonial past, including English language. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to talk to you.
That's good.
My mother language is called Shona. And this is the language that is spoken by almost 75 to 80% of Zimbabweans. But before colonialism, there are others who migrated from South Africa into Zimbabwe. They brought another language called Ndebele, which is close to the Zulu, which is in South Africa. So those are the two main languages that are spoken in Zimbabwe. And then we have several other smaller languages around the borders. As you know, colonialism cut across tribes. So you find other people are in Zimbabwe, the other siblings are in the next country and so on. So we have smaller tribes around the country that speak several other languages. But the three languages that are now in Zimbabwe mainly is English, spoken by almost everybody. That is the business language. And then we have Shona, and then we have Ndebele. Those are our languages. Today I'm very honored to be invited to come to talk to you. Specifically, I want to share with you the work that we are doing in Zimbabwe, where I am posted to be doing ministry. I've just been there for the past 3 months, but it happens to be the district in which I was born. Prior to that, I've been placed on another bigger mission. We call them missions. I will explain what a mission is. For the past 9 years, this is the neighboring districts. That's where I was for the past 9 years. So this is my first year on this particular mission. So let me go to the Zimbabwe. The Zimbabwe, those are two words. Zimba means a house, a big house. And then Ibwe means stone. So Zimbabwe is a big house of stone. And for some of you who might know about Zimbabwe, there are monuments there that were built by our ancestors around 1400, which are now known as the Zimbabwe ruins or the Great Zimbabwe. If you Google that, you will see there was a kingdom that was thriving around the 1400s, which was built of granite stone. And this is where the name of the country comes from. A political history. Zimbabwe was colonized by the British in 1890. We got independence in 1980 after a protracted war of independence. But in 1964, the British that settled in Africa targeted two countries for permanent settlement, South Africa and Zimbabwe, precisely because these two countries had the best of climate as well as mineral resources. So you find that in 1964, the British wanted to grant the Zimbabweans independence, but those descendants of the British who were in Zimbabwe settled, they refused. And they declared independence from Britain, which is known as UDI, Unilateral Declaration of Independence, by those whites. They constituted less than 2% of the population, but they declared independence. So that's what sparked this protracted war, when the Africans, become nationalistic and say, no, we want independence, we don't want you to rule us. And those guys were saying, no, Britain, you cannot dictate to us what to do with this country. Before independence, we were known as Rhodesia. I think you've heard about that. Named after Cecil John Rhodes. Actually, he was the founding person. He treated literally the country as his private property. So it was named after him. Demographics. As I've said, Zimbabwe has a population of about 14 million people, 52% being female, 48% being male. Zimbabwe has two major languages, Shona spoken by about 80% of the population, Ndebele spoken by about 17%, the other 3% is for the minority tribes found along the borders with neighboring countries. English is the business language, as I have said. Zimbabwe is the most literate country in Africa, with 97% literate rate, and we changed that. Some of you remember this guy. This is Bishop Muzorewa. He's the first African bishop in our country in 1968. But here's the history of the United Methodists. What was then known as American Methodism was introduced into the country by Bishop Joseph Crane Hadzel. He came from this place, Maryland, according to the history. Following his election as missionary bishop for Africa in 1896, the first mission he established was Old Mutare, now known as Old Mutare. He was granted a very huge piece of land by Cecil John Rhodes. Then where I am is known as Murewa Mission. Is in the northeastern part of the country, close to Mozambique. That's where it is. And that picture there is of a missionary, the last missionaries in 1961. You can look at the vintage car there. That was 1961, and these are American missionaries that served at our mission. Just to sidetrack, I've begun connecting with children of missionaries who are now here in the States, and they're sending us these pictures. And I've now a very big collection of the pictures from the 60s going back even to the 1900s. We hope to create a mini, what do you call it, a museum of these pictures if we have the resources to do so. So Murewa Mission, this is where I'm serving, was established in 1909 by a guy who was called Reverend Dr. Ghani. This guy was a medical doctor but also a preacher. So he's the guy who founded this mission in 1909. It has two schools, a primary school and a high school. Both have boarding facilities, that is, a significant number of children stay on the mission during the school time or terms. Both have boarding facilities. The primary school has an enrollment of 1,700 pupils, over 500 being resident boarders. From the 4th grade to the 7th grade, we do 7 years in primary school. So from the 4th grade, you are allowed to come into boarding. So about 500 of those children are boarders. While the high school has an enrollment of about 1,300 students, and about 1,000 of those being boarders. So roughly, we have about 4,000 children at this mission. But what is on my heart is both schools offer education to children who are visually impaired, including children living with albinism. Currently, we have over 50 such children in both schools. The ministry focuses in school. Generally, children with disabilities, we take them, come from very poor families. We source for support for them to get their education, as they all will be in boarding. At present, there is very little institutional support to these children from both the government and the church. There is need, therefore, for well-wishers to help us support these children. Generally, these children come from poor families. Their parents, at times, the wife will be divorced for bearing a child that is disabled. And then the man might move out of the house. And then this mother is left with this child. The mother herself does not know how to communicate with these children because they are blind. She has no skills of looking after these kind of children. So because of that, they bring them to the mission, for the mission to help them, look after these children. That's how we get these children. But a good number of them cannot afford the fees that we require, because we have to provide food for these children. So for that reason, as pastors and church administration, school administration, we look for resources to help such children to keep in the body. So specific needs for these children. We think we need medical support for these children. Some of them, it might be simple cataract, which if they have access to medical doctors, they might be helped. But because they come from very poor backgrounds, they would have never seen any specialist to try and help them. So at times they grow blind with something that could be corrected if they had access to medication. So we need these children to be examined. We need special equipment for them. For them, some of them probably need just glasses. That might help them, because some of them are partially blind, but some are permanent blind. The major, for those that have permanent blindness, they say they have what is known as a glaucoma. I don't know what that is, but that is the major reason for blindness to a good number of them. Those who do not make it to the next level of education are condemned back to poverty. This may be after primary education, or what we call ordinary level, which is the second level in our junior schooling. What this means is that, our education is a kind of a bottleneck. From primary school, you have to pass an examination to go to the next stage. So if these children fail to go to the next stage, it means they have to go back home. But if they go back home, yes, they might be literate, but they don't have useful skills to sustain their own lives. But like everybody else, being blind does not mean you don't need other things in life. They get married and they need skills to survive. I'll talk about that. That's what I mean by saying they literally are condemning them back, because our national institutions do not have capacities to enroll children with this kind of special needs. Very few make it to the university, as they write the same examinations as able-bodied students, as it were. But we have several good stories. For example, the 3 months I've been there, I've met 2 who have become lawyers. They are blind, but they're very good lawyers. So if they go, they're able to be career people. Now, it is interesting that this particular mission where I've been posted now has only 2 departments, which means it can only offer education. But where I was 9 years ago, that's the name of the school. Look at the facilities that are there. There is a teacher's training, there is a nurse's training, there is an orphanage called Home of Hope, there is a farm which is about, it's 1,700 hectares.
Which is 3,800 acres.
Yes. Then it has a primary school, it has a high school, then also it has a workshop that helps to have things done. But this one only has a high school and a primary school. That one was established in 1923. This was established in 1909. And we don't understand why other facilities were not added to the mission. So what we think we need to do is, number one, we think we need a clinic at this mission, because our children have to go to government hospitals. Our governments are not funding the public hospitals. So literally, we don't have access to good health care, especially those children that are living with these conditions. As you know, people living with albinism, they need certain creams for them to be protected from sun, from heat. But when they don't have that, they have serious problems. And also their eyesight, they need specific special glasses for their eyes to be protected from the sun. So we need a facility that helps such kind of children to have access to that. You can go to the next slide. Apart from the clinic, this is the immediate need that we have realized when we went there. My wife is the chaplain. She's also ordained. She's the chaplain to the schools. I'm the pastor in charge, and then she's the chaplain. Our long-term vision, we think we need a vocational training center at the mission to offer skills to those children with disabilities, skills that will sustain them in life. As I said, the other two Methodist mission centers, namely Nyadiri, I showed you, and the other one called Nyamzu, offer education to children with hearing impairments who face similar challenges. Therefore, we think if we have a vocational training center, all these children with disabilities can come and get skills from this mission. This could be, woodwork, this could be metal work, this could be whatever, but at least they have practical skills that will help them in life as adults. Then community needs, that's my wife over there.
Margaret.
She's planting sweet potatoes, but she's helping an old woman because the mission is surrounded by villages, and these villagers come to the church on Sunday. So I'm their pastor. So we were doing familiarization home visits, and we found they were doing this, and she was trying to help them. But Zimbabwe is in an economic meltdown. We inherited a very strong economy. It was actually the breadbasket of Africa. But let me get into the politics that happened then. In 1980, when we got our independence, it was a negotiated deal mediated by Britain. The major issue was the issue of land, access to land, because when colonial powers decided to settle, they drove us, the Africans, to poorer areas where there is poor rainfall. And therefore, when people were fighting for independence, the main agenda was to reclaim their land. So what happened is that, in the negotiation, Britain said, no, you cannot just drive these guys that have huge farms away. Let us have a deal where we have a willing seller, willing buyer arrangement. And then Britain would provide the funds for those who are willing to sell their land for resettlement. So that was during the time of Margaret Thatcher, and she was a conservative, as you know. But there was a change of government. When Tony Blair came in, he was a Labour. He said he has no obligation to honor what Margaret Thatcher committed Britain to. And therefore, she said he is no longer able to provide the funds as it had been agreed in 1980. This is where Robert Mugabe said, okay, if you can't provide the funds, then we will just take the land anyway, because you did not buy it in the first place. And this is what led to what you heard about the land grabs in Zimbabwe, where Mugabe took land forcibly. It was this kind of political divide between Mugabe and Tony Blair. But as you know, in politics, it is the people that suffer.
Right.
So we don't know who was right. Tony Blair says, no, I withdraw because Mugabe was not accountable to the money that we gave him. Mugabe says, no, because you are a Labour person, you are failing to honor what Margaret Thatcher had agreed and committed Britain to. So it was his word versus his word. But whatever it is, it led to an economic meltdown. As I speak right now, over 5 million of the 14 million are living in diaspora. A significant number of them here in the US. He was in school with one of them I know personally. So, and that is the most productive age that is left the country because there is a meltdown. Anyway, that is a side track. But we are surrounded as a mission by very poor communities. And yet, the community where we are, it is very good rainfall pattern, unlike other areas where we have drought. So we really think that we need programs that will enable poor women like the owner of this field to have proper farming methods so that they become productive. And then they'll be able to feed their children, to have surplus that can send their children to good schools. In the country, Methodist schools offer the best of education. And at times, these poor people who are neighboring the mission are unable to bring their children because they cannot afford the school fees that will be required by the school. So if we empower these people to produce quality goods, it is our vision that, at that vocational training we are talking about, we can start to do value addition to the products that come from the villages. For example, if they produce tomatoes, we can then process them into tomato sauce. And then you put it on the market as a finished product, which earns more money for the communities. And it will also stimulate productivity in the neighboring communities. And that way, we impact on the economic activities that will happen around the villages. We can go ahead. The ministry opportunities, as I've said, the church has an opportunity to offer a value addition opportunity to these poor villages so that their horticultural products can reach better markets and even export markets. The collapse of formal agriculture in Zimbabwe, caused by the land reform that I'm talking about, can provide an opportunity for village farmers to fill in the gap and market Zimbabwean products again. So we need to empower the local communities to do that. But we also need genuine evangelism. On this one, I need to add, if you ask an average Zimbabwean, they'll tell you they're Christian. And almost 80% of them profess to be Christian. But then the question is, what type of Christian are you talking about? So in most cases, we have what are called, we call them sects. They call themselves apostolic groups. But these generally, they still live in our traditional African worldview. And then they just, brand it as Christian. They practice polygamy. And I was telling these other guys that, should you visit me next week, I will show you a man with 20 wives and over 100 children. But you cannot look after them. So those kind of people are calling themselves Christians. But this is not Christianity. We cannot call that Christianity. And then secondly, you find that, they claim to be prophets. But the kind of prophets that they talk about is about telling people that you are a witch. The Holy Spirit is telling you that you are a witch. And you see, there's a lot of division among the people. At times, fathers and sons, they kill each other because sons will be accusing the father of being the witch and all kinds of things. And all being done in the name of Christianity, and they think that is prophecy. You see, so those kind of things are rampant, and we need to reach out to people with authentic Christian teaching that is civilizing, that makes people live a better life. So we think that we have a great opportunity to really lead people to genuine Christian gospel, not this syncretic version of Christianity. Now, the danger we were having is now that this is why you see me against progressive, movement in the United States. Because when progressives come, they tell you that, we are ecumenical, you cannot judge people, you accept them as they are. So I'm not allowed to tell this man that, this is wrong, you can't have 20 women, that is being judgmental. I should accept their cultural views. You see, Christianity is normative. There are certain things that we are called to live up to. Right. And unless we have an authentic Christian teaching that tells people wrong from right, darkness from light, then we are not doing anything. And therefore, we need to be evangelical. We need to reach out to people with a good teaching. This is a choir, a men's choir, very popular. They sing music, and it's Methodist. And when they evangelize, these people are willing to go all over preaching. But at times they don't have basic things like, a public address system. They don't have that. But we need to empower them so that, we can go around preaching and bringing people to Christianity. Those sects I'm talking about, number one, they emphasize unreasonable, let me put it that way, faith healing. They actually don't allow their people to go to hospitals because they think it must be, that's a lack of faith. And I should just pray for you and she must be okay. So you see, there's high mortality rates in those, their women die in labor because they don't allow their women to go to hospitals to deliver, for example. Their children die early, and they don't care because there's so many wives. So if this die, they can produce other children, something like that. So we need to have authentic Christianity that enables people to go to facilities. That's why also a clinic is important at the mission, so that people have access to medical care that is a little bit better. Let's go on. Then, so eventually marriages, as I said, are rampant. The girl child is the obvious victim. This guy who has 20 wives, I think he is in his 60s, but he's still marrying. And at times marrying 14-year-olds. You see. Wow. So that cannot be allowed, you know. And then education, as I said, is not valued. They don't care about education. All they want, you know, a girl child should just be able to read and write. That's enough. No career, no nothing. They cause social disharmony, as I've said, by the so-called prophets, which at times are involved in witch hunts. They do not value education. They do not go to hospital. They have high mortality, as I've said, all this. We can go. So we need to preach authentic, good gospel that liberates people from superstition and fetishism. Reject liberal theology that has failed us in this area. We need to recruit mobile evangelists to bring people to authentic Christian gospel. We want to strengthen our chaplaincy. You see, even these guys with sex, they bring some of their children at our school. Among the 1,700 children that I've said in primary school, some come from those households. So our chaplaincy need to reach to these children so that when they go back home, they see the difference between what we teach and what they've been brought up to believe is Christianity. So our chaplaincy need really to be strengthened, and we're working on that. Then, of course, as we do community development, we need to target them as well so that they have better practices of farming and all that. So our programs are not discriminatory. We reach out to everybody so that they appreciate the importance and value of having a mission amongst them. Okay, those are my contacts. I think I just want to emphasize one thing. When missionaries came to Africa, especially American Methodists, you know, you would find 4 things on a mission generally. The first thing that has to be there is the church. And then the church, you know, gives birth to the school. And then also, normally they would buy land so that the mission offers a demonstration plot for farmers so that they know how to do good farming. And then generally there is also a hospital. That is the fullness of our mission. So a good Methodist mission should have these 2 components. Unfortunately, where I am now, we only have 2. Education, which is the mind, and the church, which is the spirituality. But health and agriculture, we do not have ministries there. And this is what we are appealing to you, if you can, to help us reach out to people in a holistic manner, as it were. I think for now, let me stop here unless there are some questions. Thank you.